Hi there, you're watching Nightline with me, Natasya Busst. The top stories. 23 Malaysians detained by Israel set to return home soon after successful negotiations led by PM. And more talks needed on key terms of US-led peace plan, says Hamas. Good morning. All 23 Malaysians detained by the Israeli regime last Thursday while taking part in the Global Summit Flotilla humanitarian mission to Gaza have arrived safely in Türkiye after being released on Saturday. The aircraft carrying the Malaysian delegation landed at Istanbul International Airport at 8:40 p.m. Malaysian time.
Pada 8.40 malam waktu Malaysia sebentar tadi, semua delegasi Malaysia telah pun selamat sampai mendarat di lapangan terbang antarabangsa Istanbul dan disambut oleh pihak kedutaan Malaysia di Turki dan Wisma Putra serta kerajaan Türkiye.
Speaking at a press conference on Saturday night, Datuk Sani Arabi Abdul Alim Arabi said the volunteers will spend the night in Istanbul as guests of the Turkish government. They will return home via a Turkish Airlines flight fully sponsored by the Turkish authorities. He added that the activists' arrival in Malaysia will largely depend on the final travel arrangements.
Sebenarnya kita memang mengharapkan dan berhajat untuk mereka kalau boleh malam ini terus terbang dan besok sampai ke Malaysia. Tetapi negosiasi ini bukan negosiasi yang mudah dimainkan oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri menggunakan hubungan rapat beliau dengan Presiden Erdogan seperti yang saya sebutkan sebentar tadi dan negara-negara besar. Oleh kerana itu pihak kerajaan Turki sangat berbesar hati untuk memberikan tajaan penginapan hotel di Istanbul supaya keseluruhan mereka ini dapat segarkan diri, dapat merehatkan diri dan seterusnya pulang dalam keadaan mengukir senyuman, dapat membina semula semangat mereka.
The 23 Malaysians were part of a group of 137 global activists who were released on Saturday after earlier being attacked and detained by Israeli forces in international waters. Aside from Türkiye and Malaysian citizens, nationals of the US, the UAE, Algeria, Morocco, Italy, Kuwait, Libya, Mauritania, Switzerland, Tunisia, and Jordan were also aboard the plane. Earlier, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim announced that the 23 Malaysian volunteers will be flown back soon and are expected to depart for home on Sunday night or Monday. The Prime Minister made the announcement in a live broadcast across all his social media platforms. He said the 23 Malaysian volunteers, along with activists from Türkiye, were taken to Ramon Airport in Israel earlier on Saturday before departing for Istanbul.
Dengan rundingan saya dengan pihak Ketua Bisikan Malaysia yang ada di Ankara sekarang untuk menyelaraskan bersama dengan Duta Besar dan Kedutaan Malaysia di Ankara, lebih baik mereka itu menginap di Istanbul sekitar 1-1.5 hari untuk siasatan kesihatan dan akibat trauma dan tekanan rejim zalim dan tenaga Israel yang telah bertindak agak keras terhadap mereka.
The Prime Minister stressed that Malaysia's negotiations went beyond ensuring the safety of its citizens while also addressing broader humanitarian concerns, including the rights of the Palestinian people and access for international aid into Gaza. Anwar added that the government's immediate priority is to ensure the activists' safe return home, praying for a smooth journey back to Malaysia. The release of the 23 Malaysian activists detained by Israeli forces has been met with overwhelming relief and gratitude from their families. Among them was actress and television host Yat Hamza, who expressed her deep appreciation to the Malaysian government for its swift action in securing the return of the detained volunteers, including her husband Muhammad Zulfadli Kirudin.
Sekarang sedang dalam perjalanan untuk pulang ke tanah air. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Terima kasih kerajaan Malaysia. Terima kasih Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim di atas usaha yang tak putus. Terima kasih Datuk Sani Arabi, CEO Sumut Nusantara, di atas sokongan yang tak berbelah bagi, umpama saudara sendiri, keluarga sendiri. Terima kasih atas doa kalian semua, keluarga, saudara mara, sahabat handai, seluruh rakyat Malaysia, seluruh dunia.
Meanwhile, the father of another volunteer also expressed his heartfelt gratitude to the Prime Minister for acting swiftly to bring the Malaysians home safely.
Kita mengucapkan terima kasih dan juga tahniah kepada pihak kerajaan, terutamanya BMS, kerana telah mengambil langkah yang cepat, yang segera. Kita yakin inilah cara yang terbaik yang sepatutnya dilakukan oleh seorang pemimpin.
Meanwhile, accounts of mistreatment by Israeli authorities continue to surface as Malaysian volunteers and other activists revealed they were forced to kneel for some 5 hours with their hands bound with zip ties. They were also subjected to various forms of physical and psychological abuse while in detention.
Juga mengesahkan laporan yang menyebut bahawa peserta dipaksa melutut dengan tangan yang bergari, zip tie bagi tempoh anggaran 5 jam selepas sebahagian daripada mereka melaungkan Free Palestine.
Other forms of abuse were also reported.
Memaklumkan peserta telah dinafikan akses seperti air, tandas, ubat-ubatan dan hak bertemu peguam.
They were also placed under interrogation without proper legal representation as access to lawyers was initially restricted. In the meantime, Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim has stressed that no civilized nation would ever prevent humanitarian aid from reaching Gaza. The Prime Minister said Israel's actions in obstructing relief missions clearly reflect the regime's cruel and inhumane nature.
Rejim ini tidak hanya menentang apa yang mereka ungkapkan sebagai kelompok ganas, walaupun bagi kita ini gerakan pembebasan Palestin dan Gaza, tetapi mereka juga melarang, menghindar dengan keras apa juga bantuan kemanusiaan. Ini hanya berlaku kalau negara itu dipimpin oleh dan mengendali serta mempunyai falsafah yang sangat kejam, tidak bertamadun. Negara yang bertamadun sekurang-kurangnya akan memberi ruang untuk bantuan kemanusiaan.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister extended prayers and words of encouragement to the 9 activists from the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, FFC, who are currently sailing towards Gaza and have now entered the yellow zone of the Mediterranean Sea.
Orang kata bagus, tak serik-serik. InsyaAllah, I'll do that. Huh? Salam. Doakan. Amin. Saya dah sebut dia kali ini dia your contribution untuk memberi pencerahan kepada rakyat dan seluruh dunia luar biasa.
The group is traveling aboard the Conscience and TM Denmark vessels, now positioned in the middle of the Mediterranean. The Prime Minister praised their selfless commitment to humanitarian principles, describing it as an inspiring example of courage, determination, and solidarity for future generations. Malaysia has expressed limited conditional support for the Gaza peace plan proposed by the United States, emphasizing that any lasting resolution must guarantee the freedom and full independence of the Palestinian people.
Kita masih mahu melihat jaminan kebebasan kemerdekaan Palestin. Tetapi keputusan kerajaan Malaysia Madani ini tentunya terikat dengan keputusan negara Arab, negara Islam dan keputusan Hamas sendiri.
Anwar said Hamas has agreed in principle to initial terms that include a ceasefire, the liberation of Gaza, the creation of humanitarian corridors, and the release of all detainees held in both Gaza and Israel. However, he stressed that the details of the proposal must be reviewed carefully to ensure broad consensus among all parties involved. The 20-point peace plan unveiled by U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday calls for an immediate ceasefire, a hostage prisoner exchange between Hamas and Israel, and the gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. It also outlines provisions for Hamas's disarmament and the establishment of an interim government under international supervision. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister stressed that the rights, independence, and sovereignty of the Palestinian people will form the core of his upcoming discussions with U.S. President Donald Trump.
I'm also encouraged by President Donald Trump's response, especially his call to Israel to halt this bombardment so that the real progress can be made towards peace. What we need now is restraint, an end to the attacks, a genuine pause in the fighting, and the swift delivery of humanitarian aid to Gaza.
Anwar added that he is ready to meet with President Trump later this month on the sidelines of the 47th ASEAN Summit in Kuala Lumpur. Now, Hamas has accepted several parts of Trump's plan for a ceasefire in Israel's nearly 2-year genocidal war on Gaza, but that some elements of the proposal require further negotiations. In its statement, the group confirmed agreement on key points, including an end to the war, Israel's withdrawal, and the exchange of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners. It added that it was ready to immediately enter negotiations through mediators to discuss the details of the exchange. However, the statement made no mention of a key condition of the plan that Hamas agreed to disarm and withdraw from any future role in governing Gaza. Signaling the need for more talks, the group said Gaza's future and Palestinian rights should be decided through national consensus and international law. Earlier in a brief video, Trump pledged that all sides would be treated fairly in Gaza talks, hailing Hamas's apparent agreement to release hostages as a special day.
I want to thank the countries that helped me put this together: Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, and so many others. So many people fought so hard. This is a big day. Everybody was unified in wanting this war to end and seeing peace in the Middle East. And we're very close to achieving that. Thank you all, and everybody will be treated fairly.
Trump also said he believed Hamas is ready for a lasting peace and urged Israel to halt its bombardment of Gaza. Despite Trump's call for an immediate halt to Israel's bombardment of Gaza, the Zionist army continued its assault, killing at least 41 Palestinians since dawn on Saturday. In one of the attacks, Zionist forces targeted 2 homes in Gaza City and the central Nusayrat refugee camp, killing at least 5 people and injuring several others. Israeli air and artillery strikes also continued across Gaza City and Khan Yunis in the south, with intensified demolition operations using drones and explosives targeting residential buildings in multiple areas of Gaza throughout the night.
The 2026 budget is set to reshape the nation's future, from unlocking new revenue streams and driving investments, to easing the rising cost of living and strengthening social protection. Every move matters. Stay ahead with our exclusive pre-budget reports, October 6th to 9th, only on Nightline.
More than 5 billion ringgit has been allocated for 22 water-related projects in Perak, comprising 20 ongoing developments and 2 new initiatives. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Fadila Yusof said the allocation under the 12th Malaysia Plan aims to ensure a more reliable water supply, reduce disaster risks, and create new economic opportunities.
Masyarakat sebagai mata dan telinga pada kerajaan. Industri players supaya bertanggungjawab, jangan membuang sisa-sisa bahan kimia yang tercemar ataupun apa saja, termasuk setiap individu. Pastikan jangan membuang apa-apa yang boleh merosakkan kualiti air sungai kita.
He said this at the launch of the 2025 National World Rivers Day celebration in Taipei. According to Department of Environment data, 27 rivers across Malaysia remain polluted. As such, the government is adopting an integrated river basin management approach involving all stakeholders to secure clean water resources, mitigate flood risks, and protect the environment. The Education Ministry has taken full responsibility following the death of a student during a rugby match in Ipoh, Perak on Friday. Education Minister Fadlina Siddiq said the ministry has decided to cancel the tournament out of respect for the deceased.
Setiap kali ada pertandingan ini, semua persiapan-persiapan untuk kecemasan itu kita telah ambil kira dan memang menjadi sebahagian besar tanggungjawab kita memastikan keselamatan anak-anak di atas padang. Jadi kejadian seperti ini very unprecedented. Kita tidak duga, sebab itu keputusan membatalkan ini sangat penting untuk kita bersama memberikan sokongan kepada keluarga lah.
Fadlina added that the ministry has not received confirmation on whether the student had any pre-existing health conditions. She spoke to reporters after attending a Yasin and Talil prayer for the late student in Ipoh. Police had earlier confirmed that 16-year-old Muhammad Fauzan Muhammad Sulaiman was pronounced dead at 11:18 a.m. on Friday due to internal bleeding in his right hip muscle. The Sekolah Menengah Sains Johor student had reportedly collapsed near the tent area at around 10:30 a.m. as he was about to re-enter the field for the second half of the rugby match. The 2026 budget is expected to be one of Malaysia's most defining financial roadmaps yet. But beyond government spending, tax reforms are at the heart of this year's debate. Head of tax at KPMG, So Lian Seng, said Malaysia is walking a fine line heading into the budget.
When we look at, I think, from Malaysia's perspective, heading to the upcoming budget 2026, I would say Malaysia is now in the delicate position how to balance the fiscal consolidation as well as the spending ambitions.
So said this while appearing as a guest on TV3's flagship business and financial talk show Money Matters, which aired on Saturday. He added that the good news is Malaysia's fiscal deficit has been on a downward trend over the past few years from 5.5% in 2022 to anticipated 3.6% in 2026. Two burnt to death in car crash. The details when we come back.
Makan nggak?
Satu foto.
Kamu tuh dari tadi belum makan loh.
Iya, ini materi lagi bagus. Satu foto, satu foto. Bentar, kamu boleh berdiri di ujung situ.
Saya kena serangan darah tinggi 260. Waktu tu tengah mandu lah. Masa tu ada kenderaan di hadapan. Saya pun tak tahu. Bila masa saya tahu je saya dah dalam longkang.
Pertama sekali dia jatuh, jadi dia kena stroke yang pertama. Akhir tahun lepas tu stroke yang kedua. Baru-baru ni stroke yang ketiga.
Sorry. Patut ke I perjuangkan percintaan kita ni, Alia, atau I memang bodoh?
Tapi tak apalah. Awak handsome punya pasal, saya bagi.
Berani kau curi rekod video aku,
Alia, kenapa you tiba-tiba tampar Lisa ni? Saya teringin sangat nak jumpa dia.
Kenapa? Nak macam Minang?
Mana nak tengok? Stream sekarang melalui Tonton. Tonton je, baru gempak.
The 2026 budget is set to reshape the nation's future, from unlocking new revenue streams and driving investments, to easing the rising cost of living and strengthening social protection. Every move matters. Stay ahead with our exclusive pre-budget reports, October 6th to 9th, only on Nightline.
Welcome back. The flood situation in 4 affected states has continued to improve, with more evacuees allowed to return home on Saturday evening. However, as of 10 p.m., several rivers across the country recorded dangerous or warning levels, prompting residents to remain alert. In Sarawak, Sebatan in Betong hit 10.26 meters above the danger mark, though the trend is receding. In Miri, Long Teru reached 7.7 meters, exceeding the warning level and still rising. In Kedah, Sungai Bata in Kubang Pasu, Sungai Naka in Padang Terap, and Sungai Muda in Kuala Muda are all above alert levels with rising trends. In Sabah, Sungai Pegalan in Keningau has exceeded its alert mark, while in Melaka, Sungai Siput in Alor Gajah has crossed the warning level at 7.65 meters. Authorities continue to monitor the situation, and residents in affected areas are urged to remain vigilant for possible evacuation orders. In Pulau Pinang, 2 unidentified men were found burnt to death after their car caught fire following an accident in Sungai Dua, Butterworth on Saturday. The accident happened at about 7 a.m. along Jalan Pekan Darat heading towards Sungai Lokan. According to the State Fire and Rescue Department, both victims were believed to have been trapped in the vehicle following the crash. The car then burst into flames, leaving the victims unable to escape. Their remains were later found both inside and outside the vehicle. No further details have been released on their identities at this stage. The bodies have been sent to Kepala Batas Hospital for post-mortem examination. The case has now been handed over to the Fire Investigation Unit for further investigation into the cause of the fire. Sean Diddy sentenced to 4 years in prison. This and more when Nightline returns.
Fan nomor 1, itu memang kamu. Jangan tunggu, vote laju-laju. Undi calon 2037, kita bagi kecoh. Nomor 1, bintang paling popular. You are the one, kita tentukan. ABTDH 37, satu keunggulan. Memang tiada lawan. Show undi straight sampai 9 November. Scan the QR, scan the QR. Cepat undi-undi, benda free. Tak cukup, kita gada lagi.
Jalan-jalan, cari makan.
Gendang-gendut tali kecapi. Cari kari, dapat hadiah lagi.
Memang puas hati.
Misi menangi kari dah bermula. Tak sabarnya nak menang.
Kari.
Nak tahu syarat-syarat penyertaan? Senang je. Pergi ke laman media sosial TV3 Malaysia untuk maklumat lanjut.
Sur, padu.
Dan saksikan Jalan-Jalan Cari Makan setiap Ahad 11.30 pagi di TV3. Atau stream juga melalui Tonton untuk peluang menang hadiah. Kari penuh rasa, hadiah penuh gaya.
Next week, Chef. Ni, ambil April ni, aku berhenti kerja. Bertahun-tahun, belajar law dekat UK, tiba-tiba tak jadi chef. Pasti nak buat kerja apa pula? Ambil cafe.
Daripada kita tunggu orang offer kita kerja, diri kerja kita. Hubungan saya dengan Alia kan tak berapa baik sangat. Macam mana saya nak pujuk dia? Awak kena bantu saya.
Saya nak Alia Nova datang ke kafe Bunga Telang.
Saya berguam bertahun dia untuk membela.
Memang aku perlu kalian ni untuk boostkan kafe ni. Haris tu tahu tak yang kau pergunakan dia?
Lisa tu memang ditakdirkan untuk ada dalam hidup kau. Aku nampak betapa syoknya kau dekat dia.
Awak perangkap hati saya. Dan tak ada tempat lain lagi yang buatkan saya rasa selesa dan indah selain daripada awak.
Buku orang punya. Tak boleh, you are better than me, Sisa.
Saya sebenarnya nak beritahu dekat awak ya. Saya dengan Alia.
News from the foreign front. The International Committee to Break the Siege on Gaza announced on Saturday that 2 additional boats have joined the latest wave of the Freedom Flotilla Coalition's mission to challenge Israel's blockade of Gaza. This brings the total number of vessels en route to 11 after Israel attacked the Global Summit Flotilla in international waters. In a statement, the committee said the two ships, Ghassan Kanafi and Al Auda Return, are part of the convoy currently carrying some 170 international activists. It added that the flotilla has passed the Greek island of Crete and is now positioned north of Egypt's Marsa Matruh on its course toward Gaza. The Freedom Flotilla Coalition, a network of international civil society groups, has organized multiple attempts since 2010 to break the blockade of Gaza and highlight its humanitarian crisis. On Thursday, Israeli naval forces attacked and seized vessels of the Global Summit Flotilla and detained more than 470 activists from over 50 countries. In other news, Sanae Takaichi has been elected to lead Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party, LDP, and is therefore likely to become the next prime minister, the first woman to lead the nation in its history. Takaichi defeated Shinjiro Koizumi, the son of former Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi, in a runoff vote on Saturday after none of the 5 candidates won a majority in the first round of voting. She received 185 votes, ahead of Koizumi's 156 in the face-off election. A vote in parliament to choose a new prime minister to replace outgoing Shigeru Ishiba is expected to be held on October 15th. If confirmed as prime minister, one of Takaichi's key challenges will be uniting the party after a turbulent few years, which saw it rocked by scandals and internal conflicts. American musician and producer Sean Diddy Combs has been sentenced to 4 years and 2 months in prison for transporting people across state lines for sexual encounters. The 55-year-old was also fined $500,000 on Friday. Earlier, his lawyers argued for his immediate release, saying his time in prison had already led him to acknowledge his wrongdoing and achieve sobriety. However, Judge Arun Subramanian ultimately ruled that a significant sentence was necessary to serve as a deterrent and to send a clear message. He was convicted in July of transporting his girlfriends and male sex workers across the country for drug-fueled encounters, but acquitted of sex trafficking and racketeering charges that carried a potential life sentence. On to sports now, cycling. National rider Muhammad Nur Aiman Rosli of Terengganu cycling team TSG ended Malaysia's 5-year podium drought at Le Tour de Langkawi, finishing second in Stage 7 on Saturday. The 26-year-old's achievement was extra special as he crossed the line in his home state of Johor in front of his family and thousands of local fans after conquering the top 214.9-kilometer route from Malacca to Medini. Nur Aiman launched a solo breakaway with 32 kilometers to go, but was caught by Britain's Zeb Kiffin with 10 kilometers left. In the final 400 meters, Kiffin edged ahead to claim victory, just 2 seconds clear of Nur Aiman. Other than the podium, his performance also earned him the Best ASEAN Rider honors for the stage. Joris Delbove retained the overall lead by 6 seconds and Erlan Blikra holds the orange jersey on 55 points, while Patrick Eddy continues to wear the polka dot jersey with 15 points. The race concludes on Sunday with the final 180-kilometer stage from Tangkak to Kuala Lumpur, featuring 3 intermediate sprints and 3 climbs, including Bukit Hantu and Ampang Lookout Point. Moving on to football, the Super League. Kuching City underlined their credentials as top half contenders with a hard-fought 1-0 win over Sabah in the Borneo Derby at Lika Stadium tonight. Jordan Minta was the match winner, heading home in the 74th minute, the perfect tonic before pulling on the Harimau Malaya jersey for the very first time. The 30-year-old striker only received his maiden national call-up in August after becoming a naturalized Malaysian, and he made sure the spotlight was on him in this clash. His decisive goal sealed 3 valuable points and lifted Kuching City into 4th place with 13 points, still with a game in hand. As for Sabah, they remain stranded in 12th, still searching for their first win after 6 matches. And that concludes Nightline this time around. Before we leave, let's take a look at a restaurant in Taiwan that has introduced special mooncakes made for pets, letting furry companions join their owners in celebrating the Mid-Autumn Festival. With that, I'm Natasya. Thank you for watching and take care.